You're listening to the Cyberwire Network, powered by N2K.
Hey everybody, Rick Howard here. This is exciting. Check out our new special edition episode where Brandon Karpf, our executive director of new markets, interviews a very special guest, ChatGPT, the AI chatbot launched by OpenAI that a lot of us have been playing with here at the Cyberwire. Tune in to hear us try to turn ChatGPT into a security pundit, or at least a SOC analyst. Brandon asks the language construct questions, and then he and I analyze the answer. I'll give you a hint. It's pretty good. Come join us and see what you think.
This episode of the Cyberwire is made possible in part by Strider Technologies. Strider is the first strategic intelligence tool built to help companies, government agencies, and research institutions protect their innovation and compete in a new era of global strategic competition. With trillions of open-source data points, Strider's technology and intelligence solutions enable you to proactively identify, manage, and respond to state-sponsored intellectual property theft and supply chain risks. Learn how to secure your technology talent and supply chains at striderintel.com.
Hello, my name is Lieutenant General Charlie Tuna Moore, retired. I was recently the Deputy Commander, United States Cyber Command. My father was a career Army officer, and he was also a helicopter pilot. And so serving the nation was always something that was very, very important to my family and became very, very important to me. I was also fascinated by the fact that my father was a pilot and thought, well, if I can serve the nation and also be a pilot, I would love to figure out how to do that. The big difference was helicopters weren't quite as maneuverable or quite as fast as I wanted to go. So I really wanted to fly jets. And so the natural inclination then was to look to how I might be able to do that. And that led me to the United States Air Force Academy. Coming from a military family, I didn't go to the academy with any illusions about what the environment was going to be like. And surprisingly, there are a lot of people that do show up there and aren't quite sure what to expect. So I fully knew what to expect and what I was getting into. And I found it challenging. The more and more time that I spent there and that I studied and I learned about the profession of arms and being an officer and also being a pilot, the more I was convinced I was on the right path. So when you're a freshman at the academy, at least the time when I was there, you're given the opportunity to solo in a glider. And that's the program that I became involved in as an instructor. And I found that not only did I really enjoy flying, but I really enjoyed instructing as well. And I always knew that if I was going to go down this path, I wanted to fly jets. I wanted to fly fighters. And of course, there's no guarantee of that. It's based on your performance at pilot training. And so that was the path and the goal that I'd set for myself. During that process, I earned a F-16, which made me very happy, and then went off to F-16 school. And then that kind of began my flying career inside the Air Force. This is a profession you can never solve. There are too many things that are always changing. There's updates to your aircraft. There's updates to your weapons that you're going to employ off the aircraft. There's changes from your adversaries, changes their aircraft and their weapons. Their tactics, techniques, and procedures are changing. Yours are advancing. All these things come together to make for a very challenging environment, a very rewarding environment, and one that I have no doubt that was what I was put on the earth to do. And then to have a branch in my career at about that 25-year point where I really started entering into the cyberspace, the domain, and realizing the importance of this domain, not just in terms of the defense of our nation, but the criticality that it played in terms of our ability to execute our traditional military capabilities in order to do that mission. First off, I didn't own a computer until I was 25 years old. And in fact, when I look back at my time at the Air Force Academy, I was the class of 1989. We were the last class to enter the Air Force Academy that was not issued at that time desktop computers. So when I think about that as my beginnings, and then 25 years later, I'm asked to be the first director of operations at the combatant command known as U.S. Cyber Command, and to be responsible for all the day-to-day offense and defensive operations. It's a bit mind-blowing to me. But the first way that I was introduced to it was I had left the 57th Wing at Nellis and went on a year-long deployment to Iraq. I returned late 2014, very early 2015 to work for the chairman of the Joint Chiefs on the Joint Staff in the Pentagon as the Deputy Director for Global Operations. And so I spent a little more than 2 years working a lot on the internal processes that we were going to have to execute to perform operations in cyberspace alongside and synchronized and integrated with those traditional military capabilities. And so that's where I first really got deep into the space. At the end of that assignment, a little over 2 years, I was actually scheduled to return back to the Air Force. In fact, I had an assignment in hand. And I got a phone call one day that said, the director of the National Security Agency, Admiral Rogers, would like to talk to you. And so I called him, and he asked me if I would be willing to come up to be his director of operations, and that we expected we would probably within the next year elevate this organization to become, at that time, the 10th combatant command in the United States Department of Defense. It would be known as U.S. Cyber Command. And I'll tell you, when he first asked me, I thought that he had actually was talking to the wrong guy, that maybe he had confused me with somebody else. But his vision, which I believe was very right at the time, was that we really needed to operationalize this domain. So that's how I ended up at U.S. Cyber Command as the Director of Operations. I did that position for about 3 years. Once again, was preparing to leave, go back to the Air Force for a job, and was already hired into another job as a 3-star. And at that time, the director of the National Security Agency and then the commander of U.S. Cyber Command, General Nakasone, asked if I would stay and be the deputy, which I then did for 2 years. Find something that you're passionate about. And if you're passionate about it, you're going to enjoy everything that you're doing. You'll be able to get through the downtimes and the uptimes and the challenges, because they're going to come. And I was very lucky because I was extremely passionate about the flying aspect of my career for 25 years. And I became even more passionate about operating in this space because I realized the importance of it to national security. And those traditional domains and those traditional warfighting capabilities can't succeed if we don't succeed in the cyber domain. And if you find that passion for something, then you're going to enjoy what you do, and it'll be extremely rewarding, and you can ride out the highs and you can ride out the lows. Serving something bigger than yourself is very important to a lot of people, and I thank God for that, because it's those people that are going to defend our great nation and our way of life. There's nobody working at U.S. Cyber Command at any level who couldn't be making a significant more amount of money in the private sector. But they're doing what they do because they believe in serving their country. And those type of people are absolutely amazing to work with every single day. And if I was going to boil down why I remained in the military for 33 years, it was those types of people.
This episode of The Cyberwire is made possible in part by CrowdSec. CrowdSec helps rebalance the asymmetrical cybersecurity industry by making their open-source multiplayer firewall available to all for free. Once threats are identified, all users are notified to ensure everyone's protection. No matter what your business size, CrowdSec offers adaptive response to credential stuffing, port scans, password brute forcing, and much more. At CrowdSec, they have each other's backs and make the internet safer together. Visit crowdsec.net to learn more.